Hello there. Today I've come to a place called Barnwood Arboretum. Not like the arboretums that we've been to before. Basically it's a kind of an urban park. And I've come here because we've got like 2 days before we start to lock down again. And I know you're probably seeing this in about a month's time because I'm trying to create as many videos as I can before we have to sort of stop doing life in general. But I've come here to see if I can get any interesting pictures. There's some interesting sort of trees and things around. There's nothing, not like the other arboretum where you've got a lot of time and energy put into creating different trees from different places. Right here, we've got examples of woodland that you would get in Britain. But at the same time, it's quite a nice area, and it's really weird to have these kind of areas in what is essentially just a suburban neighbourhood. There's a house over there. There's ducks on a pond. It feels kind of odd, but it isn't actually. It's less odd than you might think. Now, when I first started doing this channel, I didn't have a lot of equipment with me. I'd usually come out with this camera, with a camera, and that was it. And that wasn't too bad because I had plenty of stuff to take. I had a lens that had a focal range between 18 and 300, so I could actually do an awful lot of stuff with it. This is a little bit different. Because I haven't got that same focal range anymore. I'll have a. How does this work? Oh wow! I've got this really weird gate here. But the idea for me today was really to kind of capture some of those earlier trips that I did. Now it's not early in the morning. It's about 10 o'clock. It's probably just gone 10 o'clock now. But it's a nice day. The sun is shining. And I'm in what's known as the nature reserve part of the park. And really, I should stop talking to you and start looking to see if there's any compositions that I can find around here. Because, you know, there'll be something, right? I hope. So the other thing we're kind of having to deal with right now is just going into lockdown. The idea about what lockdown is going to be. And if you're a business at this time, it's very difficult because we've gone through a lockdown first, and it's not been kind on anybody really. Sure, there are some people who will have made some money out of it because, let's face it, some people will make money out of everything. But for a lot of us, especially in the creative field, especially in things like photography, we've been hit pretty hard already, and we're going to be again by the look of it. I don't want to talk too much about this in this video because by the time it goes out, we'll have gone through that first phase. We'll know a little bit more about it. We'll probably be a little bit more comfortable about it as well. But right now, I'm wandering around a very small nature reserve. I can see up there's some sort of bird boxes and things. I know that they have wildlife here, although I've got a lens that I don't think I can do any wildlife with. We'll have to see how things go. So it's 18 to 135 is what I've got on the camera. It's my general walking around lens. It's a brilliant lens. Not necessarily as sharp as some of the others, but it does give you that sort of extended range that you wouldn't normally get if you use the sort of normal Fuji kit lenses. And of course, you're not stuck with using a prime, which, whilst primes are great, they're not without their problems. Let's put it that way. Anyway, there's a little pond here. This is quite nice. But I don't think I'm not seeing anything that's kind of really grabbing me right now. I'm not seeing anything that I'm going, oh yeah, I've got to take a picture of that, which is weird. And it might mean that for the very first time, I don't have any pictures in this. We'll have to see. I'm going to go for a bit of an explore, see what I can get. I found a tree. It's a bit difficult. It's difficult for the composition. I put the sun over my shoulder, which actually for filming probably isn't a good idea. But I found this tree here. It's got this lovely bark, but it's also got these leaves that are being lit up by the sun. And a load of trees around it that are keeping the rest of the tree in the shade. So I really have to decide what my composition is going to be. Am I going to focus on the bark itself, which is interesting, and it's a really kind of gnarled bark, or do I focus on the leaves, and do I see if I can make something of the light? I think what I'm going to do. There's a bunch of leaves here, which I have a feeling, because they're kind of lit up, they're nicely lit up, and I think that would make an interesting sort of texture shot, so I'm going to try and do that. But I think I'll also get kind of underneath into the bark and see if I can get a picture of that bark, of some of those sort of, that gnarled treedness, to see how that goes. Now, camera settings, I've put myself on f8 because I quite like using f8. If I take the lens cap off, that'll help. Oh god, it's a really brusque, is that a word? Possibly. Morning, and it's one of those days where I start to get sniffly noses. And I thought I'd forgotten a hanky, and I haven't. Luckily, I've still got a hanky on me. Right, I'm going to put this. I've got 160 here. The shutter speed. Where are we? Oh, it's on auto. That's why I can't see the shutter speed. I'm going to put it onto 250 and see what we get with 250. We're a little bit underexposed at 250. Let's go back to 125. We're about right. Okay, so right, I'm going to try and take a picture of these leaves and see what they're like, and then get under the tree and see if there's anything under the tree that I think might be interesting as well. I'll see you on the other side. On the day, I didn't think I had anything at this first tree, but when I got back into Lightroom, I had got this shot. When I was at the location, I thought that the shape and texture of the bark, or the leaves and the colour of the leaves might make a good composition. But I wasn't expecting to get something that blended both of those together. This is one of those times when the editing really saved the shot. It wasn't until I'd seen a basic edit that I knew where I wanted to go with this image, and I'm pretty glad that I did. As it turns out, this was probably the best shot of the day, and it made the whole day worthwhile. But I just wasn't feeling it. And as you join me again, I'm still not able to see the wood for the trees. I'm standing in front of a red fir, and it's brilliant. There's all of these sort of branches that are, if I look up there, I just see this this sort of forest of branches. It's fantastic. This is probably going to be, I don't know, if I can find a composition here, this is probably going to be the shot of the day. And because the other tree was good. It's a nice tree. There's nothing wrong with the tree. But there's a big difference between having a tree that looks good and having a composition. And the difference, really, I suppose, is subject matter. You know, what is your subject matter? Well, here, I've got a subject matter, and it's the depth of the thing. It's going to make an interesting image. It's not necessarily going to tell a story in that image, but it's going to make an image that's interesting, at least. Also, we've got light coming onto one side of this tree, the bright sun up there. And we haven't on the other side, so I think there's probably another composition just around the corner as well, where I can point back this way and get the branches sort of going over. It's not... because of course the type of tree it is, it's not sort of a very autumny shot, but I think it's going to look nice. So the first thing I want to do is to try and get this shot up here, and then I'll move over there. Settings wise, I don't know what I'm going to use. I have to sort of play it by ear a little bit, because there's a lot of difference in terms of exposure between some of the branches and some of the other branches. I think perhaps a bracketed shot will work best for this, but of course I'm going to be pointing upwards, so that's never an easy thing. Let's see how, if at all, I can make this work. This goes to show how off my game I was that morning, as when I got back to the computer, these shots were worthless. but I did get a shot of the tree from the side. It was okay, but it was nothing to write home about. And you know what? That's okay. You're not always going to get a great shot when you're out. I'm pretty sure most of us throw many photos away which just do not work out. Or we just can't remember what we were going for when we get back into the Lightroom. But on that day, I knew nothing was quite standing out for me, and I just couldn't stand there forever. After all, I had things to do. You know, if I'm being absolutely honest with myself, I'm just not feeling it today. I don't know whether it's the location or whether it's me or whether it's the light. There's something about being here that's just not quite doing it for me. And I think I'm probably going to have to call it a day because of that. Have I got any pictures? Well, I don't think I do. And this might be the first time that I end a video and I don't have like a final picture to show you. I've taken a few other things around here, but nothing really stood out today. Nothing really felt particularly special. And sometimes that can be difficult, and it's not something that... Well, look, if you work in a creative field, if you have to be creative at certain times, you will come across this feeling an awful lot. That sometimes you're just not feeling the project that you're doing. That whatever you produce is just not good enough. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you have to go on. You have to just try and keep going, because you know, a client might be ready for the work, or a client, somebody might be waiting for that before they can go to print with something. You have to push forward and keep going. But once you've done that a couple of times, and I've done that a couple of times today, at some point you have to say, okay, look, the best use of my time, the most judicious use of my time is to call it a day today, to find a different location, and to see what else I can get, and to see whether or not I can get something better, or do something better. I have to say, the Arboretum itself, this is a little nature reserve, and I've seen birds flying around, and that's pretty much it. I haven't seen any squirrels or anything like that, which you do get around here. But I've seen the birds flying around, and I've got completely the wrong lens on for it, unfortunately. Otherwise, I might have tried to take some shots of those, or the ducks, or something like that. But for that, really, I'd need my 100 to 400. And I'd need a place to stand and just to sit there all day doing, just waiting for that same thing. Can't do that today, unfortunately. But I might come back here at some point. Maybe just for a wander, maybe just for a walk around, because it's a local place to me. You know, it's only sort of 10 minutes away from where I live, and it's not the worst thing in the world to have somewhere, even when you're locked down, where you can go and walk around, and we can do your exercise for the day. So I'd pretty much given up on this location, but before I packed everything away, I did have one more shot in the camera that I'd forgotten about. This was just a plain shot of some branches, but I was able to turn it into a black and white image, and it made rather a nice pattern from the whole thing. One of the things that we can do with failed shots is see if they can be manipulated into anything better, and I think I managed it with this one shot. I'd love to know what you think below. So as my day came to an end, it wasn't a complete waste of time. If nothing else, it was quite a nice walk, if not a bit of a frustrating photography trip. That's it for me for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it more than I have anyway. And I'll leave you with a big thank you for watching, a big thank you for joining in with the channel, and for all the comments that I've had, and for people who are following me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and for all the subscribers that I've had on here, because honestly, I'm at the point now where I'm doing it for you guys, where I enjoyed the first parts of setting up a YouTube channel, where I really had a great time doing it. And there's a certain point where the grind sets in, and I'm in this thing, I'm in the YouTube treadmill, where I just have to keep creating content and keep creating content, and that can be very difficult. But the thing that makes it worthwhile is when you put up what you do and somebody comments and says, hey, that was a great video. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for doing that. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button. I promise you, most videos are a lot better than this one. Until then, thanks ever so much for coming along, and I will see you in the next video. And of course, don't forget, as I always say at the end of these videos, keep taking those shots, or photos, whichever way you want to go.